Hey everyone, it's your girl Maddie here, aka Beavermoth, and today I'm joined by Jacob of Kvaen, who has a new album out, The Formless Fires, which recently released off of Metal Blade Records. Jacob, how are we doing this afternoon? Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing fine, despite the technical difficulties with the internet and computers and things not working out.
Yeah.
Besides that, yeah, totally, I'm doing well.
Yeah,
Thanks for asking.
computers and internet are good for doing that. No worries. Um, well, Jacob, the new record has been out for a couple weeks now. How have you found the response to have been so far?
The response has been really good,
Yeah.
actually. I haven't seen any like bad reviews as of such, but um, yeah, it just seems like a lot of people they just like the album, and
Hmm.
that's great. And I got the uh, got the mail that the album has peaked number one on the Swedish album charts.
No way.
So that's yeah. So it peaked number one on the physical vinyl sales, and
Mm.
also the we album of the week or something like that. That placement number two. So that's really really good.
Yeah, see, I mean, that makes sense, I guess, in Sweden. Here in the States, metal is nowhere near as popular as it is over there. So I feel like that could never happen. But hearing that like a black metal record peak like that over where you're from is that's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I have such amazing supporters, here in Sweden. So
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting placement number one.
Yeah.
So that was a big like, oh shit, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, maybe part of that too, and I have to ask, is what has been this experience for you moving to such a recognizable, iconic label such as Metal Blade?
Mm. Well, it's that's not really what I expected when I started this band 4 years ago.
Yeah.
uh, so certainly been a journey. I mean, I've worked really, really hard, and it's true what to say. Hard work does pay off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so definitely just I've been so focused. I guess I've been so focused on just striving forward,
Mhm.
becoming a better musician, becoming a better you know player or whatever,
Yeah.
and just focusing entirely on music. And I think that when you have set the goals as high as I have, I mean something is bound to happen.
Absolutely.
If I'm just never giving up.
Now I watched the kind of the get to know the band that Metal Blade put out, and you mentioned that Bathory is kind of the main inspiration behind this project. Obviously, legend, almost a flawless discography, but like why is Bathory so important to you?
Well, I besides that the music he created was absolutely unique,
Yeah.
and there was really nothing that sounded like Bathory was the first, to do what he did, and then everyone else has copied it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think it was also the mystique behind it, and I grew up with when internet had like 56 kilobytes per second. I'm from that era.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I mean, and we finally got a little bit better internet. It was still not really much information you can find. I mean, it's not like nowadays
Yeah.
when you have all these forums and you have blah 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 blah. You were lucky if you found some interviews that were posted online somewhere.
Mhm.
So I think the mystique and the image surrounding Quorthon and just that he was basically a one man show.
Yeah.
That was so inspiring to me, and still continues to be inspiring.
Yeah, and you're right. Like there are artists that try to capture that mystique and kind of that cryptic nature, but with so much information at our hands, it's kind of hard to be as unknowable as Corthon was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hang out those. I don't have Facebook. I don't have any of those social medias. I have a little Instagram thing. That's
Yeah.
it. I hate social media. I think that's one of the worst things that have ever happened to humanity. So I stay off the internet as much as I can. Also, I'm not a big fan of the internet. And I just try to I live also very isolated here in the north of Sweden. I just try to live basically a very simple life and not try to get too into the whole social media networking thing. It's for me it's like it doesn't make any sense. I love integrity and I love being a private guy and
Mhm.
not having a lot of people, you know, following me or whatever. Like
Do,
in my personal life.
yeah, do you is kind of where you live a more rural part of Sweden?
Yeah, I live in the most northern part of Sweden.
Okay.
So I mean, I for me to travel to let's say Stockholm,
Yeah.
it's it's 900 kilometers. That's a long way. it's
Yeah.
not like it's not like you can hop on the bus and like yeah, going to Stockholm. See you
Yeah.
later. It's not like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm curious because I read that the title track for this record, you originally had it and it was gonna be used, am I understand this right? It was gonna be used for one of your other bands, but you decided to hold off on it. Why did you decide to keep it and put it with this project on this album?
Yeah, because I thought it was too good not to be used. It was because the other project I was having with a bunch of other friends of mine, nothing was happening really.
Sure.
I had written a few songs, but nothing was happening.
Hmm.
So I decided that okay, well I'm gonna take the song, put it on the new Kvaen album, and I mean, well since it's my song,
Yeah.
I can pretty much do whatever I want with it. So yeah, I don't regret doing that
Hmm.
since I think it turned out really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and if you think it is such a good song and this project has legs on it, you want people to be as many people to hear it. So I think it makes total sense to put it as the first track on this record.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, now you lyrically seem to be very interested in mythology and stories and myths of that nature. When you are, writing the lyrics for this project, how do you decide what pieces of literature or concepts or narratives to draw from to write about?
Yeah. Usually, I more or less exclusively write about stuff that has happened here, in
Hmm.
the because there's so much history here that interests me. Like the whole Viking thing, for
Yeah.
example, is extremely inspiring and old folklore stuff. Also, but also, I mean, I write everything I write has to have like personal meaning in some way.
Hmm.
So I write a lot of well personal. Or I only write stuff that are personal, in, in terms of lyrics. I can't just write a beer song and hey and a hoe and a beer, la 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 la. I hate that kind of stuff. I can't stomach it.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Right.
um, Everything I do has to be serious. It has to be
Yeah.
taken. It has to sound like convincing. Like that I'm not just writing just for the sake of writing. I'm actually writing something that means a lot to me. So and hopefully I'll be able to convince the others to feel what I'm feeling.
Yeah. And so would you say that the lyrics, the stories you're telling, the personal narratives you're giving in this record, are they is this as important for you as a creative as it is the actual music behind it?
Yeah, I would say so because those two go hand in hand. I mean, if
Yeah.
you have really really shitty lyrics and you're not able to convince, the listener about what you're trying to sing, it will not make a good song.
Hmm.
It will sound it won't at least in my opinion. I think that it's not a good song if the vocals and the lyrics aren't on track with the actual song.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've heard I've heard music where the riffs are fine. The everything else seems to be there, but like the lyrics are so lazy and uninteresting that it kind of makes everything else sound worse in a subconscious way, but it does. And like I can't get into it in the same way as if there was like a narrative that I was like really, encaptured by.
But, yeah.
Yeah. Now, you performed pretty much everything on this record except for the drums, but you did have some guest vocals performed from Sebastian of Necrophobic, which is a huge get. Um, how did that connection come to be?
Well, Sebastian and I are very good friends,
Hmm.
so he has played on every Kvaen album to date because it's a good friend, and for me, just to be able to invite my friends to play my music is I see it like, oh, it's so cool that I can have these. I have these amazing musicians
Yeah.
who are also my good friends. So why not ask them?
Hmm.
To me, that makes perfect sense. And the same goes with all the other guests that have been on the album. It's just because I really love and inviting my friends to play on my stuff.
Do you is I would have to imagine is the metal community in Sweden rather close? Like, the bands seem to know each other and work with each other. Is that kind of what it's like there?
Sort of, yeah. It's sort of like an inner circle. I mean, once you get in that circle, it's kind of hard to get out of it, I guess. There are certain bands that definitely,
Yeah.
once you sort of make it in the Swedish sort of metal scene, then you basically know everyone.
Mhm.
It's sort of a very tight, small community.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sweden obviously has a rich history in both death metal and black metal. It is a metal country. Everyone knows that about Sweden.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Now, your music is brutal. It's heavy, but with Kvaen and really every band you've been a part of, there is also this strong sense of melody. And I'm wondering, how do you find that balance of the melodic components and the heavy components? How do you put those together? How do you find the right mix between the two?
I've always been a fan of combining chaos with melody.
Hmm.
Um, to me, it's not. I don't know. It's like it's just a part of who I am as a songwriter.
Hmm.
Like I love the chaos and I love the mayhem, but I like to put a little bit of like a little bit of nice melodies in the background and stuff like that, just to me it becomes more interesting.
Hmm.
So it sort of opens up the ears a little bit more, I guess. So yeah, that's basically I love combining the chaos with the melody, and sometimes it's if it's like a really chaotic riff, it's really hard to find a fitting melody because anyway you can write any style of melody, but to find a melody that fits the mood, that fits the atmosphere, and fits the actual riff, that's always the hardest part.
Yeah. And for me, whenever I listen to black metal that focuses on melody, I think having the melody, exist within as the chaos, as you said, the insanity, the heaviness, the grim nature of it, the atmosphere, it's it makes it far more rewarding on the ear. I feel it sucks you and it makes you search for that melodic component versus a pop song. The melody is just completely, it has this completely different effect. It's more It's more of a challenge for the listener, but more rewarding in that way. And that's how I've always seen melody within extreme metal.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are some bands that I think are too melodic
Yeah,
in that
sure.
sense, and that's kind of when like I there are so many different styles of metal these days, you know. But when metal that is just too melodic, I
Hmm.
think that's the only style of metal that I really can't stand.
Sure.
I'm an old school guy. I mean I whenever hang out with my friends, we put on old Venom and you know Celtic Frost, Merciful Fate,
Yeah.
you know, Bathory,
Hellhammer.
well, Hellhammer, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, more Morbid Saint or well, whatever. I mean, we like I like that kind of music. I'm not really that much into this whole, especially not this modern style, like with eight and nine string guitars. I it never just got to me. So
Yeah.
I'm old school all the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Dark Throne, all of that stuff. Um,
Oh yeah.
since your first album, The Funeral Pyre, you've been releasing music as under Kvaen, by yourself for the most part, officially. Um, I'm assuming you've probably picked up a lot of insight into just how to release music as a solo artist. And I'm wondering, what maybe have you done different here with the Formless Fires than you would have done with your first two records?
Well, I definitely learned how to not fuck up everything. Because yeah, I had. I mean, when I wrote the Funeral Pyre, I was just a little. I was just. I don't know. I was 22, 23 when I started writing the album. So
Yeah.
I was a very young guy. I mean, I didn't have any experience. I mean, and I had a very like punk attitude. I was like, fuck it, bang on. You know, let's go for it. Everything on 10. Here we go.
Yeah.
And just went for it. I guess I had no ambition about like trying to become a rock star or whatever.
Yeah.
I just wanted to write songs and have a good time, and that's what I did. And then all of a sudden, I sell thousands and thousands of copies, and no, I don't understand how that happened. But and then with the second album, I had picked up a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
So of course, the album turned out better production wise and songwriting and everything. And now we're on the third album, and I would say that this is probably the most joyful recording session I've ever had because of how much I picked up throughout the years, trial and errors. So it's just been really easy recording this album, even though I hate recording albums. That's the worst thing I know about playing. Is that I know that I got to record this albums, and it's
Yeah.
such a pain in the ass to do it. Even though I know that the ending the end results will be like really 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 good.
Did you did you have much experience with home recording and home producing before this project, or was it you kind of jumping in, trial by fire?
Yeah, I had a little bit, but
Yeah.
I mean I did some guest solos here and there.
Hmm.
That doesn't really say anything. I mean, so no, technically I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you taught yourself and it paid off. Yeah.
yeah, sure did. I mean, every release is getting better and better and better. I mean, now I have perfect control over how to manage everything by myself here in my own studio. So
Hmm. Something I'm curious about is because over the course of the interview, you've mentioned Venom quite a few times.
mhm.
And when I hear Venom, and their influence is undeniable, but Venom's, their music is so simple. It's straight to the point. It is old school, not many bells and whistles. It's not the most complex music. It's it's very basic for metal standards. Why? But I love it, and I hear it, and it's like this is incredible. Why? What is it about Venom that stuck with so many people, and why did it become such an important piece of extreme metal history?
Well, I can't speak for anyone else but myself. So, but for me, Venom was one of the first introductions to the darker side of metal. And I mean, if you put on a song like Bloodlust, for example,
Yeah,
and I mean, for me, that was like, yeah, this is what metal is all about.
yeah,
This is as extreme as it can get. I mean, today you have all these bands that are trying to play. They play 270 BPM, and they try to be faster than the previous bands before them. And to me, uh, that's also sort of when music starts to become boring, when everything is about how fast you can play. It's not about how convincing you can be. Like when you put on Venom, it's super convincing when you put it on from the first second. You hear that this is the real deal.
yeah.
This is this is like this is madness and violence at its finest. And that's what I fell in love with. It's just like this is just pure fucking insanity. It grabbed me from the first moment.
Yeah, and it did for me too. Um, and then that's crazy that a record, with that much history can still have that effect on people who hear it for the first time now. But, I'm 30. I wasn't even born yet when that music was coming out. I can only pick up stories. I can't really imagine what it must have been like for someone to hear Welcome to Hell for the first time in the early 1980s. It must have been just absolutely mind-blowing. Nothing was like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have a lot of my friends who actually bought the album when it came out.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jacob, that's all the questions I had prepared for you. But thank you so much for joining me. Good luck still with the record release, and hopefully more people pick it up and hear it because it's great. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon. And for everyone watching at home, my name is Maddie, aka Beavermosh, signing off.